If it works out okay. Welcome back to the program. Chris live in central Pennsylvania. I was saying yesterday that I spoke in the last 4 minutes, never appeared online, even though YouTube told me I was still broadcasting. It apparently was not connecting with the video. So welcome back today. Lots to talk about the ceasefire. I won't see your chat here as I go through the news, but then I'll get a little closer to the screen. I need to run through some of the news. First off, Iran has already broken the ceasefire, not once, but multiple times. Within minutes last night of the ceasefire being announced by Trump, they fired a missile at Israel at Jerusalem, which fortunately didn't kill anyone. And can somebody just let me know if they can hear me? That's what I need to know, if you guys can hear me. Okay. By the way, I came prepared today. I put a puffer jacket on in case the wind got out of control, because it was really out of control the past few days. So anybody hear me okay? Just let me know if you can hear me, because I have no way of checking whether you can hear me or not. So a thumbs up on the hearing, the sound being okay. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Loud and clear. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. In the studio, I can check that, but here I can't. Anyway, so, because I don't have a laptop out here, just my mobile. So within hours, or within minutes, they broke it. But to be fair, that attack in Jerusalem came before Iran officially accepted the ceasefire agreement. They accepted it from Pakistan 10 minutes before the deadline when Trump was supposed to annihilate Iran. And so the agreement was reached last night. A lot of idiots running around that are short-sighted morons talking about how Trump backed out. I mean, Trump always chickens out. What a bunch of nonsense. Also, all kinds of idiots talking about how Iran has won this war. There's no way that Iran has won the war. Now, the military operation is overwhelmingly dominated and successful by the United States military forces. And I'll cover that during this broadcast today, the things that the U.S. military has accomplished in that 6-week campaign, which, by the way, I predicted 6 weeks, just a few days short of that. And I'll talk, as I did in a previous video earlier, about how soldiers don't determine the end of war. War termination is determined by politicians. And what the eventual outcome of this will be up to politicians. But the three objectives laid out for CENTCOM at the beginning of this have been achieved. There's no Iranian Navy, 90%'s gone. There's no Air Force, it's gone. Their air defenses are gone, and their missile capabilities degraded. Those were the missions laid out for CENTCOM. Mission accomplished, no pun intended, for the leftist liberal attacks on George Bush when he went to the aircraft carrier and declared mission accomplished after 2003, which it was. The restructuring and rebuilding Iraq was a different mission. That mission was an abject failure, but the military's mission was accomplished. That conflict shows quite clearly how, the termination of conflict is not a military task. It is a, what the hell? Turn that damn lawnmower off. What's this guy doing over here, parking his lawnmower over here? I can hear it. You guys probably can't hear it. So it's a political objective. But let's talk about Iran has already done. In addition to the missile strike last night on Israel, Iran has already stopped the oil tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz after promising to agree to do that and let them through. 2 ships got through. Now, this is in response, apparently, to Israel attacking Lebanon. The Pakistani prime minister claimed that Lebanon was part of the ceasefire, which Israel vociferously denied, said, no, it's not. We will continue to attack Lebanon. It's a threat to Israel's security. And they launched the biggest attack yet against Lebanon since this conflict began. So we've got a problem here. Iran has already reneged on the ceasefire agreement, not even a day into it. Day one, they've already begun to stop traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. So we've got a problem there. They also today attacked the Saudi Arabian pipeline with a drone. And we've got a couple new realities that we have to face here when it comes to Iran. Until this time, the terrorist Islamo-fascist regime in Tehran, the mullahs had never taken these 2 steps in the past. Now, yes, they fought a decade-long war with Iraq, but Iraq attacked Iran, or was it the other way around? Whatever the case is, that exception. Iran has never previously attacked its Arab neighbors in this fashion. But in this conflict, they immediately attacked all their Arab neighbors. That is an unprecedented provocation. And also, in doing so, they frequently committed war crimes and crimes against humanity, intentionally targeting residential areas, hotels, tourist sites during their campaign, rather than going after military bases, military forces, or infrastructure supporting the war effort. They attack civilians. Those are crimes against humanity, and they're also war crimes. So Iran has broken a set of precedent now. They will attack their Arab neighbors. That's something to be conscious of. Also, they have never previously been able to effectively shut down the Strait of Hormuz. They tried it in the 1980s, and the U.S. reflagged all the tankers, and we escorted them with our ships, and that worked. This time, because of the advent of drones and the use of missiles, They have been able to effectively shut down the Strait of Hormuz, and this may in fact be one of the shortcomings of CENTCOM strategy and one of the things that strategists overlooked from the U.S. government. Now, I don't know if they overlooked it. I wasn't in the meetings when they debated this. I wasn't part of the planning for this operation, but it seems quite clear from the outside that there was no plan or poor planning on how to address this. How do you let a third-rate country that is being decimated control the Strait of Hormuz, especially when there's no Navy there? There should have been a better plan to deal with these drones, and there should have been, armed vessels armed to the teeth defending that 3-mile narrow stretch through the Strait of Hormuz, but they didn't do it. Also, shame on the Europeans, Japan, South Korea, and China, all of whom are desperate for oil from the Middle East. We're not, care less. Virtually none of our petroleum comes from that region. We're the world's largest oil producer, the world's largest energy producer, and at the moment, one of its largest exporters. And really, it's not an issue for us for energy here. But oil is a fungible commodity, and its price is driven up by two key benchmarks, the Brent benchmark and the West Texas Intermediate Light Crude benchmark. It's traded on global markets, and the prices are affected by events around the world. So our prices do go up, but our supply remains consistent and increasing as we increase production here in America. So the Strait of Hormuz is really not that important to the United States from an energy perspective, but from a global economic perspective, yes, it's important to the United States, because if South Korea, Japan, China, and the European countries' economies go in the crapper, they will not be buying goods from America, and they won't be producing things that America needs. So yes, it does affect us. But these shameful European countries and Asian countries who are freeloading leeches on the global security, like many countries were where the British Empire ruled the waves, leeches on the efforts of a small band of people, in this case, U.S. military, protecting the global routes of commerce. So, now, these two new precedents for Iran have come far too easily. Attacking their urban neighbors wasn't even a second thought. They did it on day one. Not even a second thought. That is unprecedented and unusual. Also, their ability to shut down the strait was far too easy. As I said, I don't think the U.S. CENTCOM prepared for this very well, at least from the outside. It appears to be the case. Also today, Iran has attacked the UAE and Kuwait. Yep, this morning. So they've attacked Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, UAE already, and shut down the Strait of Hormuz, all in violation of the ceasefire agreement. They cannot be trusted. The only answer for the Iranian mullahs and their fascist Islamo regime is annihilation. And have we stopped too soon? That remains to be seen. Here in America, we have lots of people betraying this country, attention-seeking attention hoes like Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is her comments. She said on Twitter, 25th Amendment, not a single bomb was dropped on America. We cannot kill an entire civilization. This is evil and madness. Well, what's evil is the turncoat treasonous behavior of Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I'm not talking about her allegiance to Donald Trump. I don't really care about that. We were here before Trump. We'll be here after Trump. I'm talking about her treason to the United States, undermining the president's position, uniting this country. She's not even in Congress. This is a turncoat who betrayed the people who voted for her in record numbers. They came out and voted for this loudmouth, foul-mouthed, crass asshat of a Republican congresswoman. Yeah, see, I'm attacking Republicans. See, calling me a MAGA guy. No, this asshat of a representative simply resigned when her feelings were hurt because she didn't get enough of the Epstein files because she's an obsession with pedos. She has an absolute obsession with pedos. And so because she didn't get what she wanted, she threw her toys out of the pram and began attacking the president. She is treasonous and she needs to shut her cake hole. She's out of Congress. She betrayed the voters, and the Republicans had a narrow majority because of her callous indifference to this country. She betrayed this country. If she gave a shit about this country, she would have finished her 2-year term and then take her cake hole and walk away. But she's an arrogant, elite, rich, privileged little I'm choosing my words carefully here. Inheritance baby. She's an inheritance baby, inherited daddy's hard work and made her a multimillionaire, and she runs her crass mouth. So she can just footsec, piss off. Nobody cares what Marjorie Taylor Greene has to say. She's non-consequence, except to the leftist media who want to use her, pretending she's actually someone anyone cares about. She said, this is not what we promised the American people when they overwhelmingly voted in 2024. Well, you didn't promise me anything, sweetheart, and I didn't want anything from you. You don't represent me, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You don't represent anybody. You represented one northwestern district of Georgia, not me. And you clearly showed that in Congress with your contemptuous behavior. She said, I know, I was there more than most. What do you mean more than most, sweetheart? You were there. We didn't participate in the election in 2024. We didn't vote. We didn't go out and campaign. for candidates, shut your cake hole. You know, more than most. You participate. Oh, you want, see, this is what it's about. She's bum hurt because she didn't get a position in the Trump administration. That's what this comes down to. She didn't get a position in the Trump administration, so she wants to whine about things. That's Marjorie Taylor Greene. All of these turncoats, when they don't get what they want, look, I wanted to be ambassador to South Africa. I put my name in the hat. Trump administration doesn't give a flying flip about me. They ignored me. They don't care about me because I didn't contribute millions of dollars to the campaign, and I'm not a famous political figure or famous, celebrity from Fox News. So what? My feelings aren't hurt. Would love to have been the ambassador to South Africa. I would have done a better job than any recent ambassador's done there. But the bottom line is that doesn't change my view. That doesn't change my positions. I don't bend like the wind like Marjorie Taylor Greene, whose feelings are hurt. Her bum is sore. You know what? Maybe she shouldn't sit on it so much. All right. So speaking of turncoats, people using this conflict for their own personal political gain, Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid said Netanyahu was responsible for Israel's worst ever diplomatic disaster. And that the strategic damage would take years to correct. Really? So the fact that Iran has thousands fewer missiles than it had 6 weeks ago, the fact that Iran has no navy, it has no air defenses, it has no air force. That's a disaster? Oh, stop. These people, just political opportunists. Shame on you. At 3 a.m., the ceasefire took effect, and Iran agreed to this just 10 minutes prior to the ceasefire deadline, after Trump had said he'd accepted 9 minutes prior. Now, Iran continued to fire missiles at Israel until 3:30 in the morning, so 30 minutes after ceasefire. But again, this could be rogue units. It could be intentional. We don't know. United Arab Emirates said 17 Iranian missiles and 35 drones have been fired at them since the declaration of ceasefire by Iran. These are treasonous, dishonest. Not one U.S. aircraft or one Tomahawk has been attacking or firing at Iranian targets since the U.S. agreed to ceasefire. 4 minutes before Trump gave the order, we launched attacks, but since then, not one. Yet Iran has violated ceasefire repeatedly throughout the day. They are treasonous, untrustworthy, fanatical, lunatic, Islamo-fascist. That's who they are. That's who there's always been. And anybody that believes that they're going to agree to a ceasefire is as dumb as Barack Hussein Obama. All right. So what else we got here? Oil has plummeted. It plummeted initially and has continued to go down today. Brent crude was trading at just $91.65. This down from $117 yesterday. Folks, that's 17 and 9. That's $26 a barrel less. The price of petrol went up slightly in the United States because that's futures. So the price of futures have gone down considerably. And the stock market's up as of a couple hours ago, was up 1,300 points here in the United States, but that's not the only stock market that's up. South Korea's KOSPI index was up 7% today. Japan's Nikkei 225 was up 5.39%, and the Hong Kong Hang Seng index was up 3.49% earlier today. Now, those could go up and down, but the most important index to consider here is the volatility index, something most people don't pay much attention to. It looks at the volatility of the stock market and perceptions of where the market's going. 30 is high. 20 and below is healthy. The VIX, or the volatility index, was sitting at 31 on the 27th of March, so high. But that plunged from 25.78 yesterday to just 20.22 this morning, and it's still going down. So that is a massive plunge. Basically, that's confidence that despite the ceasefire not being held by the Iranians, that this will calm the waters when it comes to this conflict. So the volatility index for the stock market has dropped precipitously. All right, so let's talk about more Ferreira's Lügners and Betrügners. Spain's surrender monkey, Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, said the government of Spain will not applaud those who set the world on fire just because they show up with a bucket. Well, you know what? You're an evil bastard there, Pedro Sanchez, betraying the United States and NATO, betraying our agreements, our defense agreements, not allowing us to use our bases in Spain to prosecute this war. And I do hope that you are overrun by Islamo-fascists like you once were centuries ago, and you learn what subjugation means, because you don't deserve to be in the nation of free states with your behavior. Since the Ansar government has been voted out, Spain has become an unreliable Islamo-fascist apologist and a surrender monkey to illegal criminal aliens who've invaded their country and are destroying the social fabric of Spain once again. So Pedro Sanchez, foot sec to you. We will not forget the obstructionists, cowards, and enablers of the Iranian terrorist regime, Pedro. And we know who surrender monkeys are, like Emmanuel Macron and yourself. Now, here's another surrender monkey in America, Husnang Amir Madadi. He is the founder and president of the American Iranian Council. He says, U.S. has been defeated in the war with Iran. Defeated in the war with Iran. Really? Okay, explain that. He doesn't. And will not re-engage even if Iran were to close the Strait of Hormuz after the ceasefire. Well, Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz during the ceasefire within the first day, within hours of it. So let's wait and see what the response is here. Now, you don't have to wait 2 weeks there, Mr. Amir Mahdi of the American Iranian Council. Another surrender monkey here. The U.S. has been defeated, really? All right. So let's continue on with that. Then I'll come back to South Africa. I got one story here I want to talk about South Africa. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, another idiot of note. Let's talk about her. She said whether by his cabinet, that's the 25th Amendment, or by Congress, that would be impeachment, the president must be removed from office. Now, she said this after the ceasefire. Speaking of dimwits and the squad of dimwits, this is another dimwit. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a dimwit of high note. The woman's intelligence quotient is lower than the heel of my shoe. She really needs to shut her cake hole. And really, the morons that vote her in New York should wake up and realize that she cost you a $25 billion capital investment in your neighborhood that would have created thousands of jobs, paying six figures for New Yorkers. But this moron kept it from coming to your neighborhoods. Yes, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a woman many people live in poverty in her district because she's an idiot. She is lower than pond scum and dumber than a bread box. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is the one that needs to go. It's another dimwit in Congress and the entire squad. They're all dimwits who are sucking a state salary, just like ANC and DA members, doing nothing, accomplishing nothing, but undermining the safety and security of Americans, like they do in South Africa. Now, Trump has come up with a bizarre proposal, which I think is idiotic. So once again, you accuse me of a MAGA crowd. I don't agree with everything the president says and does. And when he does something I disagree with, I point it out. Once again, I'm doing that. He wants the U.S. and Iran to jointly manage a toll booth for the Strait of Hormuz. Well, this is just moronic. It's international waters. There's no toll booth. Screw Iran and screw President Trump's concept of charging people a toll to go through the Strait of Hormuz. This is moronic. I don't know what this is all about, but it needs to cease and desist right there. All right. Vice President J.D. Vance has warned that Trump should not be trifled with when it comes to ceasefire. He's deadly serious. Well, we'll see how serious President Trump is now that Iran has already violated the ceasefire. President Trump still has 2 weeks which he can engage before he needs congressional approval through the War Powers Act. All right, let's talk about the military impact of what's happened in this conflict thus far. CENTCOM, U.S. Central Command, based in Tampa, Florida, but with a forward base in Bahrain, they have hit 13,000 targets inside of Iran, including 4,000 dynamic targets. What is a dynamic target? That is a target of opportunity that pops up, that intelligence analyzes, is available to be struck, that is a threat as it pops up and moves around, not one that was pre-planned. So planes fly around in air cap missions, they get targeting data, and they move, and they fire, and they drop these things on it. Or we fire Tomahawks. Anyway, so 13,000 targets, of which 4,000 were dynamic. Most of the dynamic targets, of course, are missile launchers, mobile missile launchers, and missiles being pulled out of silos and pulled out of storage. Those are the dynamic targets. 13,000 targets. 90% of the Iranian fleet is under the waters of the Arabian Gulf or the Indian Ocean, excuse me. 80% of the air defense systems are gone, not degraded, not damaged, gone. Over 450 ballistic missile storage facilities have been obliterated. 801 one-way attack drone storage facilities have been destroyed. In other words, it's one way because the drone will never come back. It's going to go out and it's not planned to come back. It's going to destroy something. So 801 one-way attack drone storage facilities are destroyed. Over 20 naval production and fabrication facilities degraded or destroyed. 80% of the nuclear production and fastening facilities are destroyed. Yes. So, also, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says the United States is not going anywhere. Forces will stay in the region as we wait for the ceasefire to be dealt with. So that's a bit about the conflict and the ceasefire, which is what the title for this stream was today. And so we're only going to go to the top of the hour, and then I'm on with Ronaldo. So let's talk about Cyril Ramaphosa. I did a video on this a short while ago. Please go watch it. Ramaphosa has accepted the credentials of 20 diplomats today to be the accredited ambassadors in South Africa. Included in that group was Mozambique, Angola, Cuba, and the United States. Brent Bozell. He finally accepted his credentials. Now, it's 2.5 months after Brent Bozell arrived in South Africa, and that's not unusual. It's not unusual. However, South Africa's politicians, including Ramaphosa, have been lying, saying that the relationship with the United States is important, and they value it. They do not value it. They rubbish it at every turn. They mock President Trump. They lie about the United States. They lie about the refugee program. They lie about race-based laws. They lie about the danger to rural South Africans. They basically lie about everything. The trade negotiations, which are non-existent. And so, utter nonsense from South Africa. And their contempt for the United States is quite apparent in Ramaphosa today. Ramaphosa told the 20 ambassadors gathered, but this message was for the United States and for Brent Bozell. Ambassadors should never criticize their host countries publicly or in a confrontational manner. Really. You ever heard of Ibrahim Rasool? You ever heard of that race hustler? I have. The guy was PNG'd from America for his vile comments about the United States and about our president as a sitting ambassador. And you're going to lecture the United States. He lectured the United States with this saying, we further call on all countries to respect international law and the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all nations, except South Africa doesn't do that. It dominates its neighbors in SADC, whether it pretends it doesn't or not. And in SACU, it dominates. And beyond that, it has forced its way into non-government organizations and regional organizations, like pushing for Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma to become the chairperson, the administrative chairperson of the African Union. The agreement with the African Union and its predecessor, the Organization of the African Union, is that the hegemons would never hold that seat so that smaller countries could have influence. But South Africa broke to China by demanding and insisting that the person they didn't want to see in South Africa, they got rid of her by sending her to Addis Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, where she was as popular as syphilis. Nobody wanted to see her. Everyone shunned her. She was an idiot. They broke to China. South Africa does respect international law. They have allowed their companies to ship helicopters to sanction warlords in Libya and Benghazi. They have sent their citizens to murder Ukrainian soldiers illegally as mercenaries in that conflict in Russia. They have also violated the international law and agreements and basic human rights when they failed to have a reasonable trial for the Burmag accused, violated their human rights according to the United Nations. The South African government did not join the Gambia's case in the ICJ against Myanmar for its genocide against the Rohingya. Didn't even become a friend of the court, no amicus brief. Yet they misused the court to tie up Israel and deflect from their own failings in South Africa and intensifying racial and class and religious hatred. Yeah. He also said that as president, whenever I appoint ambassadors and high commissioners to your countries, I expect them to respect your country, its sovereignty, and promote good relations between our two nations. Ibrahim Rasool didn't do any of those things. He didn't respect the United States. He didn't respect Americans. In fact, he was a vile, repulsive, disgusting human being. And he should be shunned wherever he goes for his lies and his racism, his bullshit that he put against the United States. He did none of that. But you appointed him. He wasn't appointed by Zuma. He was appointed by Cyril Ramaphosa. Zuma appointed him the first time. You appointed him to go to Washington, and you violated diplomatic norms and protocol by rushing him over in collusion with the Biden regime to appoint him as the ambassador to the United States to insult the Trump administration just days before Trump became the president of the United States. This was intentional. It was provocative. And the Trump administration didn't say anything, but I'm saying something. It was intentional and provocative. It was done to insult the Trump administration. And then he did exactly that. And this is the one conversation that was shared publicly. How many times did he do this in public forums? Insult the United States, insult Americans. We don't call South Africans racist as a group or as a nation. We don't. But Ibrahim Rasool, the sitting ambassador to the United States, said exactly that in a public forum and did it repeatedly. He just got caught one time. So you are either lying or you're a hypocrite, Cyril Ramaphosa, because if you told your ambassador to respect our sovereignty and not be provocative and promote good relations, then why did you not recall him as ambassador, even if nothing else, to dress him down? You let him continue to say horrible things about America and be in America until he was PNG'd, because you're just spewing poppycock, buddy. He said, whenever I send our ambassadors and high commissioners to various countries, I always make a point to inform them that they should never criticize their host countries publicly and in a confrontational manner, but should always seek to raise issues privately and constructively. Yeah, nah. Survey says, nope, sorry, buddy. We surveyed 100 South Africans, and the top three answers were Cyril's a liar, 85% of the vote, Cyril's a liar, 14% of the vote, and Cyril's telling the truth, 1% of the vote. Yeah, I'm sorry. The top answer from 100 South Africans surveyed was Cyril's a liar. Pinocchio Ramaphosa. Yeah, anyway. Speaking of South African, respecting international norms, shipping helicopters to sanction warlords in Benghazi. South Africa is also an arms dealer. Yep. Yeah, well, the U.S. is the largest arms dealer in the world, but South Africa is also an arms dealer. They pretend they care about global peace and all about international cooperation. Yet South Africa shipped $550 million worth of armaments around the world last year, much of it to Europe. 10.1 billion rand, and including armored vehicles and aviation aircraft in Africa. Great. Now I've got this idiot running around with a lawnmower over here. Oh, geez. They sent 34 armored vehicles to Kenya, 30 to Ghana, 15 to Malawi, 11 to Cameroon. Wow. But I thought that they cared about international agreements and peace and love and security and harmony. What a crock of manure. Cyril Ramaphosa once again telling us BS, sharing his nonsense. What's new? Ramaphosa and his nonsense. All right, let me get my sandwich back there. I'm going to come a little closer so I can see the chat, see what you guys have got to say. All right, 375 people currently here. Thanks for being here, folks. Live chat. Let me go back and see what I got here. All right. Anything anybody wants to say here? All right. Bad manners. Oh, some bad. Who's got bad manners? Human rights case ANC made against Israel just started for. Of course, it's falling apart because there's no merit to it. There is no genocide in Gaza. If there were, there'd be no Palestinians in Gaza. They'd be wiped out. Only a small fraction of them have been killed or harmed. They still speak Arabic. They still practice their fantasy that they live in Palestine, and they still practice their faith. There's no genocide. No one's attacking their language, their culture, or killing them in mass. I think Pakistan negotiated with Iranians with no power. That's possible. Who's that? Mark? Hey, Mark, how's it going? All right, who else we got here? We should revoke Cortez. Yeah. Well, she was born here, unfortunately. Can Trump just be trolling about the toll? Yeah, he probably is trolling about the toll, but it's not helpful. It's not helpful. Yeah, maybe they get the toll idea from the ANC. Shouldn't the U.S. have conferred with allies before attacking rather than afterwards? No. Why? So they could betray us and inform the Iranians? The left-handed surrender monkeys in France, the UK, and Germany can't be trusted with information. They can't be trusted. They're unreliable. They'll disclose classified information. Look, the 10-point counteroffer by Iran. Some of those jobs will be given to why you continue with ceasefire. Hopefully they can negotiate. They're not going to. Trump, first off, the Iranians declared victory saying that Trump bought all the points, but he didn't. And Iran has to come up with the enriched uranium and open up the strait. Well, the war's not scary unless you're in the region. You're going to monitor where anything that looks like a Shahed drone and missiles move. Yes, they will. No, you're right. Ramaphosa does not value the relationship with the United States. Yep, and somebody said, was it Marissa said that so-called allies are all in the grip of Islam. Well, I mean, under the most famous imam in the faith of Islam, King Charles, the moron. We see that. Was it King Charles III? He is the greatest supporter of Islam on the planet. There's nothing wrong with Islam, but there's certainly something wrong with being the king of England and being the head of the Anglican Church and pushing Islam and over your own faith. Just the threat of a couple cheap drones doesn't matter that the Navy is gone. Did anybody see what's going on in Ukraine? You're not paying attention to anything I say there at low IQ. Are you living up to your username? You're not paying attention to anything I say. You're obviously not watching my videos. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether they have a Navy. I've said that many times. But it does affect. They've lost capability because they no longer have a drone launching ship. It was sunk to the bottom of the Arabian Gulf. Southern regime is so easy to criticize, though. They make it. Yeah, they do. They are incompetent. Looks like there might be a White House press conference. At 1 o'clock, when I'm on with Ronaldo, there will be a press conference from Carolyn Levitt. Ramaphosa still expects us to believe the Sudanese businessmen smuggled money into South Africa, paid for cattle, never got the cattle, never asked for a refund. Yep, exactly. They gave a liberation movement control of a first world country. What do we think was going to happen? Yeah, well, I hear you on that one. Iran drones 20,000. The Patriot intercept 3 million per shot. They managed to close Strait Hormuz. No, that's not why they managed to close JJ Pretorius. I don't know that Iran's paying $20,000 for a drone. And yes, that's probably a close amount of money for Patriot Interceptor. Patriot Interceptors don't go after drones. So you're equating apples and oranges. Patriot Interceptors go after missiles that are inbound, which costs a significant amount of money, or they go after aircraft. That's what a Patriot is for. It's not for taking out drones. There's other measures taking out drones. For instance, Aegis guns on battleships, cruisers, and aircraft carriers take those things out of close range if they get in too close. Iran won't stop. Their ideology won't let them. It's religious calling. Exactly. I'm with you on that one, Daryl. Ceasefire won't hold. Yep, they've already broken it. How come Russell was never demarched? Probably because they kicked him out so fast. It's not closed. Ships are scared to go through. Lloyd's pulled insurance. That's why. Insurance has been pulled by Lloyd's of London. Yep. Regards from Vindhoek. Hey, how is it going? So much for ceasefire. Appears South Africa is not just not aligned with the U.S. It looks like open mockery. It is. They're openly hostile to the United States while they pretend that they care about international agreements. They don't care. South Africa's ANC is negotiating or running their mouth from a position of weakness. And if any attention is put on South Africa, that government will collapse. They better hope they could quit pissing off Trump. Yeah, the mower man. Well, not just 9/11. What about the 241 dead Americans in Marine barracks in Beirut in 1983 when they murdered our soldiers, sailors, Marines, mostly Marines? What about all the Americans that they disabled, they paralyzed, they destroyed with their roadside bombs, their interference in Yemen, their chaos in the civil war, their interference in Lebanon, their support for the Houthis, Hamas, and Hezbollah? These are evil people, and they declared war on the United States a long time ago. Okay, well, I can hear the lawnmower. It's bothering me. You're going deaf. Sorry to hear that. The Roy Falk and Rattel Tech was on offer to Iran. So yeah, no, I've read that. I've read about a couple different projects. There's a lot of stuff coming out now about South Africa's underhanded, dirty criminal activity. Yep. Apparently 2/3 of Gaza is destroyed, but the population increased. Exactly. How do you get more people in a genocide? Doesn't quite work that way. Danielle Armscore made such big strides only for the ANC to destroy and sell off. Yep. No, Trump shouldn't trust Pakistan. No, they're not allies of Iran, but you shouldn't trust them. Yeah, not even 24 hours. That was quick. Yeah. Not only King Charles, Prince William praised Islam. Oh, really? I didn't see that. Well, so did Helen Zilla. She praised Islam too, but she was just being politically correct. She's being a politician. So, okay. We'll push Trump out a 6-week window. Yep. Control the shipping lane only through terrorism threats. Oman has the shipping lane. Yeah, but Oman's not enforcing it. Gaza's population has increased because their TVs were blown up. Yeah, exactly. What happened to this being World War III? What happened to, Tucker Carlson claiming that Trump was going to launch nuclear weapons last night? What an idiot that guy is. What a showboat. What an attention seeker. Yeah, all these idiots like him and so many others. Tercius, thank you for 35 Rand. FEMA tents. This is not my backyard. Well, the chance the ceasefire was broken by units that didn't get the memo. Well, you can make that argument last night. It's a bit hard to make that argument today when you hear that 35 missiles were fired they weren't fired from the same launcher. Those are multiple launchers fired at UAE plus all these drones, 17 drones. So that's a bit hard to make the argument. This is not simply rogue units. It's also the government doing it. Looks like there's really there. Wordhog's having a field day, apparently. Well, they were. Extremely professional and private wins, which is great and admirable, but would have been nice to see harsher actions against bad guys. Oh, yep. Good evening, CBB. Hey, Ronaldo, are you ready for us to go? Did you send me a link? I sent me a link. Okay, cool. Somebody give me a time check. What time is it right now? Let me see if I can get that off my phone. Oh, come on. It's not going to work. I can't get it. Somebody tell me. We must be getting close to the top of the hour. Seriously, letting the RC off the hook and carrying on and butchering people all over the world, and Trump is playing with fire. Death to America. Oh, well, no, you're saying, what is that? Tucker smoked too much weed with Joe Rogan. I agree. Please explain the timeline with regard to Trump's powers of war. Trump gets, within 48 hours of military action, he's required to inform Congress, the House and Senate, as to what action he's taken and what his objectives are. He did that. He has 60 days from that point to conduct any military operations necessary in defense of the United States as Commander-in-Chief. After 60 days, according to the unconstitutional War Powers Act passed by a corrupt Congress in the 1970s, the president then can no longer continue operations unless he's got an authorization from Congress or declaration of war by Congress. So that's the problem. Okay. Oh, got 4 minutes. Okay. Thanks, guys. All right. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks to almost 400 people currently here. It's safe to say that because of Bozel's previous job, that he would easily identify propaganda. Yep. Yep. Means the ceasefire has been violated. Yes, it was violated last night. We could have excused that, but today it's been violated repeatedly. They fired 35 missiles at UAE and 17 drones attacked them. Saudi Arabia was attacked. The pipeline was attacked by a drone. Israel's been repeatedly attacked. They have closed the Straits of Hormuz again, so they have violated ceasefire. Never believe a terrorist. All right. See you guys in a little bit. I'm going to go join Ronaldo. Be sure to hit the like button. Only 264 likes. Can we get a few more? We get a super chat, just one super chat, but you know, I can live with that. But how about some likes? I really push for the likes. You notice I don't push for the super chats as much, although the money's nice. Cheers, everybody.